Hello, my name is Dante Renee, and welcome to the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page, where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more. Like tonight's film, this is 1970s Sweet Trash. 1970s Sweet Trash. And this is directed by John Hayes, who has also done Hot Lunch and Baby Rosemary, which I've looked at on this YouTube page already. He's also done tons of other films, Jailbait Babysitter, which I'll be looking at in the future, Champagne for Breakfast. There's tons of stuff. He even, I believe, supposedly directed a couple television episodes, things like Tales from the Dark Side. Anyway, very prolific, very powerful, very awesome director of not only X-rated hardcore, but also softcore features like tonight's movie, Sweet Trash, as well as a large variety of genres. So John Hayes is definitely also slowly becoming a favorite, one of my favorites, a favorite directors of mine. Let's look at his film Sweet Trash. It says on the poster art, "Some women are born to be sweet trash," and let's see if we can get a closer view of things happening here. Okay. And on the back, we have a screenshot just right there. Very otherworldly, sci-fi looking screenshot, isn't it? This is part of the drive-in collection, put out by Vinegar Syndrome with the film Hang Up, which I'll be looking at in the future on this YouTube page. And picked this up for about, I think, 20 bucks, 15 bucks, something like that. Part of their drive-in collection double feature show. Sweet Trash is a softcore film. It's not a hardcore film, even though it says rated X in the front there. We do have full nudity from women in the film, but really no intense, nothing intense sexual situations. So this is a film that really exists in its own world, creatively, uniquely, with the storyline, with the atmosphere, with the dialogue, with the music, with everything. This is quite a fascinating movie. Sweet Trash deals with locations and characters, emotions, and delusions. And, we look at this film and I see loan sharks, friendships that have lasted a very long time, mind control from a computer, a mysterious working class bar that holds a stripper one night, but none of the men minus one are really interested in seeing the woman get naked. We have a loading dock where meat is packed and loaded, and a man has worked there for 12 years, a working class man. He lives in an apartment, and in this apartment, supposedly his mother's bed is in there. There's a woman in his life, and he's known this woman since his childhood days. There are ties to this woman, mutually. There's something lingering there. There's alcoholism. There's a room in the back of the mysterious working class bar where high stakes gambling takes place. And a man, our man, the lead man of Sweet Trash, he's losing money, he's losing his mind, he's losing his life. He's out of sorts. He's losing his job. And we have Coney Island. And we have a young hooker who has her very colorful room right above the carousel ride. We have a man who lives in a mansion of sorts with a variety of naked women. But one of those women he really loves, one of those women he's really connected with. There is a drunk Puerto Rican woman outside who wants to take our friend up to her house, up to her apartment. And we have a New York, a New Jersey, a Manhattan. We see the homeless on the streets, real filming of homeless on the streets. We see large buildings that almost look like an old town, like old city, old New York. They all look the same, and they're large and they're tall and they're all encompassing, and they all seem to have the same architecture. And we have murder and broken fingers and a man blinded by alcohol. We have a man who is seeing his childhood, a la, A Christmas Carol story, kind of going through his life with fog and smoke and a childhood with possible sexual abuse. Working class men versus wealthy businessmen who don't know how to work. A city, a group of men who are prudes. They have some aversion to sexuality, some aversion to the female body, the female form. We have music in this film that spans just as much of the wildness of this movie. You know, a man jumping out of a stained glass window. Sucker punch gunshots. And blood. Violence. We have classical music. We have a jovial, old-time theme that has like almost a harmonica. Flute. Jovial jazz that's smooth. 60s rock, 60s stripper rock, stripper music. We have variations within the classical music where the classical music mixes with other genres and it makes a very unique force. And the music and the themes are jovial and innocent and old-time, old-fashioned in a way. And then we also have tense, dark, almost horrific cues of music in this film as well. We spend time lingering on an awkward stripper who's not sure of her audience. And the women in this film are sexually attractive. Their breasts, their legs, their butts, their whole presence. The stripper in this film, her whole presence, her whole strip act, very attractive, very sexually moving as she puts on the record on the stage, the record player. Interestingly enough, later on, she puts on a Victrola to have sex with a man on another man's mother's bed. Sweet Trash is filled with otherworldly conversations and situations where we feel as the viewer lost, maybe just as lost as the main character of the film, where we are trying to understand and trying to figure out the people that aren't talking, the people that are just moving, and then the people that are talking as well. This film works in a way that it feels like it's expecting you to understand what exactly is happening in this world, and that your lack of understanding is the understanding and is the reality. There's a theme in this film as characters mention it, of realism. That is a theme in Sweet Trash. And this controlling computer that is telling people what to do, who to kill. Sweet Trash is a fascinating film that melds the genres of sexploitation, crime, exploitation, violence, the surreal, and even pieces of horror vibes. There's a section of this film, one of the most haunting sections of the film to me, just in atmosphere and music, was the section of our character at Coney Island. And there's this young girl, attractive hooker, who mentions that it's going to rain for 3 days. And you see the Coney Island rides, and you see rain on the slides. And there's something creepy about it. It almost reminded me a bit of the original black and white Carnival of Souls and the carnival there. There's something otherworldly about what's happening here. Our main character is even getting violent delusions, things that aren't reality. And he's quite aware of that after the fact. He's a complicated character because you're not totally sure of his desires. What are his real desires? He wants alcohol and maybe some food, but there's a scene where this hooker tries to give him food and he's rejecting it. Is he rejecting the food, or is he rejecting her? He escapes. He travels on foot, by train, and meets a host of characters in the day and in the night. Characters that are otherworldly and influenced much by alcohol, as alcohol is another main piece of the storyline of Sweet Trash. This is a film that is very unique, very creative, and very, very interesting. It's a film of dialogue, too. It's very dialogue heavy, and it will lead from situation to situation to situation, and at the beginning of the film, you're not quite sure who the lead is. It's as the film unravels that you start to realize who the lead in this film is. The acting is incredible in here, especially from our lead. And there is you get kind of this like these old-fashioned vibes from the film when you're watching the movie, like it's an old-time film, a classy old-time type of down-on-your-luck story. And then all of a sudden it collides with, 70s exploitation and the erotic. Before a character gets his fingers broken, one last time to squeeze a breast. The stripper in the film is very fascinating to me, and I believe she hardly says anything at all. This is really, really, and it's just a very unique film. It operates on a much different genre-bending level. This is 1970s Sweet Trash by the genius Mr. John Hayes. This is it, folks, 1970. It's about 80 minutes long. Thank you so much for watching the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page, where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more, like 1970s Sweet Trash. Thank you again, and good night.